Is she really nagging, or is she just drowning in unmet needs and feeling invisible in her own home? In this honest conversation with Dr. Becky Whetstone, we unpack the truth behind the nagging wife label and why lack of responsiveness, not communication, is often the real issue in a deteriorating marriage. Have you ever felt like something was off, but you couldn't explain it? Like the person you love is slowly chipping away at who you are?
Or maybe you're starting to question everything, your feelings, your memory, your worth.
We've both lived that story.
Different marriages, same man, same toxic pattern.
Deception, spiritual manipulation, sexual addiction, financial abuse, it nearly broke us.
But even in our darkest moments, God was still working, holding space for the healing that we couldn't yet see.
I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Deana. We are the voices behind Surviving Toxic Relationships, a podcast and YouTube space created for women walking through the fire or rising from the ashes.
We're not therapists. We're survivors, mothers, grandmothers, and women of faith who refuse to stay silent.
So whether you're stuck, freshly out, or years into your healing, we are here with real stories, honest tools, and no sugarcoating.
You don't have to heal alone.
And you're not crazy. It was just that he was that convincing.
There is hope. There is healing.
And no matter what you've been through, you are deeply seen and deeply loved.
All right, here we are. Tiny short bio. Lizzie and I were married to the same toxic narcissist, not at the same time. Me first, her second, and a total of 33 years of lots and lots of hell. But we have brought on one of our favorite ladies to our channel, Surviving Toxic Relationships, and it's Dr. Becky Whetstone. And Dr. Becky, I'm going to call her, has written a great book about marriage and the 5 steps of marriage. Becky, remind me of the title. Kind of like the 5 steps of...
The book is called I Think I Want Out, What to Do When One of You
Yes.
Wants to End Your Marriage. And I do talk about the 5 stages of a deteriorating marriage
Thank you.
in the book.
I knew deterioration was in there. So, yeah, and so she literally, like, in her book, she describes that oftentimes, and this is from her own personal experience, by the way, that oftentimes there are several stages of a marital deterioration. And if you can realize and recognize those stages, then you can possibly stop any kind of a divorce from happening. And so Doctor has all kinds of experience in not just that arena, but many other arenas. And since Lizzie and I are all about toxic / narcissistic / gaslighting / manipulation /
The big
abuse.
bag. The big bag.
The big bag of all of it, we're all about that. And she's been through, with her therapy sessions, like she has seen so many different scenarios. So we just thought she'd be a great person to come on for our Virgin Live.
I feel like a guinea pig.
We didn't tell her. It was our first time. I don't think you're supposed to tell people about that. We didn't tell her. So
It's kind of like saying, I have stage fright.
I actually do have stage fright.
Really?
Oh, no.
You know what,
curse.
ladies?
You know why? Because I love public speaking. So this is like a curse.
I mean, wait, isn't that like a blessing? Like public speaking is one of the biggest fears there are ever.
I love to do it, but I have stage fright. That's what I'm saying.
I see. So you love to, okay, kind of a blessing, but then you're like, what am I doing? This is terrifying.
Exactly. It's like I love to do it, and then it tortures me.
A love hate completely. Yeah, so we're here and we have this incredible therapist, accomplished therapist and author, and we just want to see if there's anybody out there that has anything they want to talk about. Ask her questions, throw them at her.
Please ask me anything.
Ask her anything. How often do you get free advice? Like that doesn't happen very often. So
Not at all.
you're out there, take advantage. Yeah. So, Becky, I know you were talking about some of the things that have been coming up lately in your practice with women really having a hard time with being told that they're a nag. And remember, we are not man bashing. We are not.
It's not. We love men.
This
But they can annoy, can't they? Can't they annoy like no one
I
else?
mean, both genders can annoy, but as far as the nag, I don't think I've ever heard a guy being called a nag. I think I've only heard that in regards to women, and I think there's a lot more to the whole nag situation than maybe meets the eye. So, when it comes to a woman coming to see you and she's complaining that her husband calls her a nag and says that, she's driving him crazy because she complains all the time. Give us some knowledge and information. Like, what would you do with that client? How would you help her understand where this is coming from and what can she do to kind of defend herself, but also maybe be open to hearing what's going on?
I was researching this topic because I like to look online to see what people are Googling and searching to know more about, because I like to write blogs. I write blogs to help people learn more about things they want to know more about. And one of the topics that came up in my search was that men were Googling how to shut up their naggy, bitchy wife. And so I started researching this, and I thought, well, I'm going to write a blog for these guys about how to shut up their naggy, bitchy wife. And so I put a lot of thought into it and the whole communication transaction of that. And I realized that what's going on is that women are asking their men to do X, Y, or Z. Like, might be, will you remember to take the trash out, or will you help me around the house, or when you get home from work, will you help me for 15 minutes before you sit down and rest on the couch, or whatever it is. And men aren't being responsive to their wives, or, around the house more, you want whatever. And so women get frustrated, the women get frustrated because they really wouldn't be asking for the help if they didn't really need it. I mean, most of us don't just do it for jollies, right? We do it because we need a hand, and marriage is supposed to be a partnership. So a lot of these women are saying, I'm a nag because my husband is not responsive. I'm asking him to do A, B, or C. He doesn't do it, and I have to remind him, will you please, will you please? It's almost like a desperate plea. Like, I'm drowning out here. I need a life preserver, and he's sitting there on the couch not throwing the life preserver to her. So men have had a tendency and a history of like when I was growing up, women were ridiculed for being bad drivers. It was a stereotype that women couldn't drive. And I think the nag stereotype comes from the old days also, is the woman's going rah, 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 rah. But again, women would not nag without the lack of responsiveness. If you would do what we're asking the first time, there would be no nagging, right? And this is another dynamic that I hear very frequently in my sessions, is the man or the woman will say, my spouse never listens. And I will go, okay, wait a minute. Can you prove to me that they're not listening to you? Like, they literally are not listening. Their ears are shut off and they cannot hear you. No, I cannot prove that. No, the truth is your spouse is listening. They're just not responding. That's what the problem is they're either saying nothing because they don't want to deal with it, or they're going to say no to whatever it is you're talking to them about, and they don't want to deal with the pushback. So they'll just go mute or silent. But the truth is, most of us listen. We just don't always respond at all, or in the way that our spouse wants to, and then we're accused of not listening. So I know from studying many marriage therapy theories that responsiveness is a huge, huge problem for both genders of the marriage. And the answer is, like, if my husband asks me to spend more time cleaning the kitchen and I have no intention of doing so, I could at least tell him, hey, that's probably not going to happen, rather than just be mute and not say anything at all and blow him off. I think the blowing your spouse off is infuriating to another person. So I think it's really important when our spouse is asking us something, whether we intend to do it or not, we need to respond.
Well, yes, I do kind of understand though that if you tell your spouse, like, I have no intention of doing that, you can be in some real deep hot water for making those words come out of your mouth, you know? So I can kind of understand where a guy or a woman would be like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you my true intention. I'm not telling you that at all because I will pay for that.
Here's the thing though, if we take the time to say, look, I really prefer not to do that, whatever it is. If we control the tone of our voice and the words that we choose and say it in just the right way, it won't come off as being obstinate or defiant. We can actually even say no to things we don't want to do in a flirty tone or a friendly, non-threatening tone, or even laughing, and but so it doesn't have to be this aggressive conversation. I think, you could joke to your spouse, well, what do you think the chances are that I'm going to start doing that? And laugh and keep it lighthearted. And any marriage therapist knows that when you are going to have a potentially dicey conversation with your spouse, that you need to be soft and non-threatening. We call that in marriage therapy the soft startup. In fact, if I'm going to jump down my husband's throat, I'm probably going to glide into the family room and sidle up next to him and rub his neck and go, hey, babe, is this a good time to talk? Because I have a bone to pick with you. And so now he feels no threat. And the whole thing is we're mammals. And if we come in aggressively going, I can't believe you did X, Y, Z, then they're going to feel under attack and their nervous system's going to fire up. And then it's off to the races. It's kind of all about your approach, and you can like flirt with them while you're getting mad at them and they won't even know that, that it was an argument. So what do you think?
I think that's really impressive. I heard someone years and years, probably a couple of decades ago, say, well, you could say anything you want with a gentle and quiet spirit, but when you're got this build up, that gentle and quiet spirit doesn't necessarily want to come across as gentle
Well,
and quiet.
see, it's against marital rules to approach your spouse when you're riled up, as we say here in Arkansas. Like you're supposed to. The part of adulting in marriage is waiting for the right time. And like if my husband's watching the Masters golf tournament and they're on the last hole of the whole entire tournament, that would be a very bad time for me to come in and tell him, hey, rawr, or even sweetly say anything to him. But if he's sitting on the couch and I can tell he's in a super good mood and he's lighthearted and not feeling stressed, then that's a good opportunity to take that thing that's been bothering me and come softly approach him and gently, sweetly speak to him. Because we have to make our complaints palatable and deliver them in a way where the other person doesn't feel under attack. So you have to have a calm nervous system when you do it. And when you come to them, you have to have a calm nervous system. You're not supposed to be having conversations with your spouse when you're annoyed.
And that's a really good point. And I will tell you, I think, after many decades of marriage, I think that where I kind of went wrong and maybe discovered it later was that I didn't want to confront. I'm not a confrontational person. I'm an empath. I don't, even in a nice way or kind way or flirty way, I didn't want to confront. I just want to, okay, he works hard. You want to just give them the benefit of the doubt, the benefit of the doubt, the benefit of the doubt. But the thing is that we let it build up, right? Instead of confronting it when it's small and just saying, hey, can we be really kind? And you're not infuriated. And I did this with my kids too. Instead of just tackling things with the kids when they were small, you let it slide, let it slide, let it slide, and then bah! I did that both with the kids, and Lizzie and I both raised 4 that were pretty little stair steps, so huge families, huge, exhausting little toddlers. But, I feel like you really do kind of tend to just let things go, let things go, let things go. But I mean, don't you agree that it really is more important to tackle things when they are smaller and when you are calm and it hasn't become a big issue yet versus waiting until, I mean, I'm not saying like nag at every tiny little infraction. I think that also goes into some toxic stuff, when you're nitpicking and criticizing any little tiny infraction or any little imperfection. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But I mean, if it's a real thing, if you have to pick up the kids from school all the time because they work from home and they just don't feel like going anywhere after working from home, and you're just like, okay, fine, fine, fine. But then it builds up, and when you start feeling that resentment, that's when it's so important to sit down and really have that conversation. What do you think?
For sure. I mean, you have to pick your battles. You have to decide if is this worth, bringing up, because you don't want to be a nitpicker, and so you've got to be in touch with yourself enough. And mindfulness and awareness of yourself, tuned into yourself, is a huge part of being successful in relationships. So I am so in touch with myself that I know that this is something that's pulling on me enough that it's worth bringing up. That's what the term remarkable means. It's worth remarking about, right? And and again, when I have that thing, as soon as it shows up on my radar, I really need to come in and, again, the soft, talk about things when you're in a soft, lighthearted mood. You can even put music in the room and turn the lights down, and your husband will probably get programmed to know you're getting ready to hammer him. If you set this sweet little mood and then you come over there and start flirting with him, he's going to go, "What did I do?" And the other thing I wanted to say about what you're saying is that we should never be sitting in a state of resentment. If I'm sitting in a state of resentment, that's on me. It's not on the other person. And what it is saying is, I didn't set a boundary for myself, and I allowed something to happen that wasn't okay with me, and I didn't advocate for myself. And so I resent the person. So a rule of thumb to avoid resentment is never agree to anything, to do anything for another person unless you can agree with a happy heart or a neutral heart. If you're going to resent them, then you need to set a boundary and say, I'm not willing to do that. So it's like a big conversation with my clients is, I don't want to go to your mother's house anymore. I do not want to go anymore. I resent going to your mother's house and you pressuring me to go to her house. And I tell these people, this is a no-brainer. Don't go. And your husband should not pressure you to go. All of us are adults. We have free will. We have to manage our lives like a business and keep ourselves in the black. And if the mother has been, so awful that it's misery for you to go there, that's ridiculous. Just don't go. Just don't go. And then again, your spouse's part is, let your spouse have the free will to say, I don't want to go here, there, or wherever it is, if they will resent you for it.
So what do you tell your clients if the spouse like makes them pay for disagreeing with them? Like anytime they put a boundary down and say, I'm sorry, I love you, I understand why you want this, but I just don't agree. Like how, because I know like, mine, Lizzie, our shared one, he would just quietly make you pay for what you didn't do and what you didn't go along with him about. And so it became so not worth it to disagree. So how would you help your client navigate something like that?
Well, first, if I was seeing that couple, I would tell the vindictive person that that's completely unacceptable. And it's abusive, it's controlling. It's what the term I use in the kind of training that I have is called grandiose and boundaryless. It's like you're being arrogant. You're treating your spouse as less than, and you're not restraining yourself diplomatically. You're just inflicting yourself on somebody, and that's absolutely unacceptable. You cannot have a healthy relationship with someone that conducts themselves that way. And it's exceedingly immature to be vindictive. And to your spouse, are you kidding me? That's outrageous to be vindictive to your spouse. And I know people do it, of course. People pout. Pouting is in the same league. It's completely unacceptable. To give someone the silent treatment is completely unacceptable. The biggest problem I see with couples is immaturity and acting like little bratty teenagers when you're 30, 40, and 50 years old. It's ridiculous. So part of what my job is to teach people how to grow up and adult in their relationships.
That's very good wisdom right there, because it's so easy, I think, to just get there without even realizing you're there. And then you're like,
No,
I got a bigger problem now.
it is. And I wish everyone would be super tuned in to themselves and to their spouse and obsessed with relationships like I am. I can't expect people to know it on the level that I do, but I swear if people would just what I kind of wish is that we all were forced to go to relationship community college. It's what I really like. I was telling a friend the other day that I had a fantasy that before you would be issued a marriage license, you would have to go to relationship community college and earn a associate's degree showing that you've taken this class and that class and that class, so we could all know at least enough to have a successful family moving forward. And the thing is, even the narcissists, like I don't know about, the one y'all were married to, I'm sure he's a piece of work, but if he'd have had a class where he was told flat out that X, Y, or Z is unacceptable, you cannot do this, would it have made a difference at all?
Nope, because when I was married to him for 27 years, we went to so many classes. Like, I've lost track. And some of these classes were with people that were so wise and so in tuned to exactly what you're saying. Really, really understanding the depth of a relationship, how to treat somebody, not just a woman or a man, but doesn't matter, a person, a human, to make them feel loved, to make them feel valued. And then they will reciprocate that, because that's kind of where it starts. But so many classes, but I'm telling you, he used these classes to just get better at being deceptive and manipulative. So much so that he went and deceived Lizzie before she ever had a chance to even realize who he really was. He was so good at it. And then went on to deceive number 3 and marry number 3. And she thought she had also been blessed from on high with this amazing, attentive, family-oriented man. And then number 4 thought she was blessed from on high with this amazing, attentive. Now we've lost track after that, but we know for a fact that everybody felt like they were getting this amazing person, because now I'm not saying that this is common. I'm not saying that. I don't think that, narcissists and sociopathic type predator people are common, at all. But in our case, unfortunately, this didn't work. But I do feel like there are really good men and women out there that if they truly did have the education you're talking about, and they truly understood how their reactions and actions are impacting their significant other who they love, they really got it, then they would be horrified, because they would have that compassion of, oh my gosh, that wasn't what I was trying to do. I just got lost in my own emotions. So I think for a lot of the population, it would be a great thing. I love that. I agree with that. I think so many of us just didn't have good role modeling. We didn't see good relationships.
All of us. I mean, it's, my husband's the only person I know who had a loving parents who were very affectionate their whole marriage through. And my husband does not remember his mother ever being unkind, crabby, or anything like that. And that is nuts. I just can't believe it, because my mother was like just griping about everything. And no, he has no memories of her being anything but like a Disney mom,
June Cleaver, isn't that what we used to call it?
Yeah, June Cleaver.
Yep.
June
Yep.
Cleaver. And so he's a kind and decent person. And so he came out with skills that most people don't have just because his family was respectful to one another. Now, on the other hand, he would tell you that they didn't talk about deep things. They didn't really know what was going on seriously in each other's life. It was more of a surface kind of thing. And that may be kind of June Cleaver like in that way. So they probably weren't talking about the meaning of life at the dinner table. Or like when he got around my family, he couldn't believe how we were talking about our personal lives at the dinner table. Like that, it's just like, what? But I know from working with couples, like if they will really spend a year with me, letting me kind of do a community college type thing with them, they're going to be good to go. Like if they're misbehaving or doing something that is dysfunctional in relationships, they'll know it. And there won't be arguing over who was right or who was wrong, because you're going to know when you learn the skills, there's no doubt about where the conversations are going wrong. But the most important thing is don't engage with your spouse when your pulse is over 100. If you're not calm, save it for later. If you're riled up talking to them, stop and take a time out and return when you're calm. This is the best advice I can give anyone out there. Just do this, because when you are activated, your nervous system is activated. I've made up that your IQ drops by 20 points. You turn into a nutty
made up.
15-year-old incalcitrant teenager, and you do awful damage to your relationship. So why do that?
And that is true, not just obviously with a partner, but also with our kids. I could see that is just a good skill set that really is kind of lost unless you really learn it. Because one thing with my parents, when you were talking about parents, was I never saw my parents fight or argue or have a disagreement. I always saw them kind of just being that great relationship, which that gave me security. But when I was in a relationship, there was a lot of things that I didn't know because I never saw that. Like I thought a couple wouldn't fight. I thought a couple wouldn't go through these things, and then realizing that I was in the Wizard of Oz. I don't know.
I've had many people tell me over the years that their parents never fought and yet they divorced, and that the parents just kept it secret, and that was discombobulating for people. In fact, I'm interviewing children of divorce right now for a research project I'm doing, and that's one of themes that's coming up is our parents didn't keep us abreast of what was going on, and things would just happen or go down and we didn't know. And so I even tell couples that are planning to divorce, if dad's going to move out of the house or mom's going to move out of the house, you got to give your kids a little notice. You don't spring things on them. And really, kids need to be informed along the way how things are going to go down and who's going to go where and how this is going to look and all that kind of stuff. Because these deals where you think your parents are happy and then you find out they're not, that is discombobulating to the brain. You have to ask yourself, what is real? What can I count on? I think that's a lesson that your if your parents might be acting like phonies in front of you, which is weird, discombobulating. I think kids need to see a little normal arguing. What we don't want to do is scare kids. We don't want to have knockdown dragouts and stuff in front of them. And it's okay to cry in front of your kids, but don't be a basket case in front of your kids. So don't do the things that scare them.
Or bash the other parent to your children. Like, don't try to get your child. Yeah, don't try to get them on your side.
I can't believe your dad did that. I can't believe your mom said that.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you're trying to do that so that your kid maybe understands that what your dad did was not okay, because you're trying to educate them. But I think there's a time and place. I think if you're if the other parent is being harsh or emotionally abusive or in some way abusive to the child, I do think there's a place for the parent to sit down and talk to the child. Because I had to do that. I had to sit down with my kids and just say, that was not okay. What he said and the way he made you feel and the way that hurt, that was not okay. I'm so sorry, but that was not appropriate. You didn't do anything wrong playing, and it got on his nerves, for instance.
That is for sure. That is for sure. But it's always best when the person who did the deed does the repair.
Right.
Kids will do really great if the parents will do a repair after a mistake. We all make mistakes, right? But I don't know about you. My parents never made one repair ever in my life. But I tried to do it with my kids. And they're quick to forgive when you just tell them, like, I blew it. I shouldn't have done that. It's so powerful. And
Yeah,
you can do that
exactly.
in marriage too, by the way.
Yeah, it is so powerful and also helps that person understand, like, I get that what I did was not okay and I get how it made you feel. And maybe I don't even know how to not do it, but I really mean it. I think when it gets toxic is when they keep saying sorry but doing the same thing. That's when it kind of, flips over to the other side. But like you said, like taking ownership as a parent, you're not like giving your child power by apologizing, because adults make mistakes. I get frazzled nerves and we do and say things we didn't mean and we act in ways we didn't mean. So just telling your child like that was not okay. Mommy should not have been like that is a really mature thing to do, and it really does help them understand that when they're grown, they don't have to pretend to be perfect, but they do have to own their mistakes.
For sure. Kids tend to put their parents on a pedestal, which is not going to serve them well in their life. Because let's say my parents were a train wreck, which they were, and because I put them on a pedestal until I was maybe 25 or 30 years old, if I felt unloved or dismissed by them, I blamed myself rather than their inability to love me, which is really what the problem was. The kids will really come, my parents can't love me. They don't want to spend time with me, when it's just their problem, really. So I remember one time, so I made it a point that I didn't want my kids to think I was perfect. I did not want them to put me on a pedestal. And I remember when my son was pretty young, I told him one night, Mommy shouldn't have done that. Mommy, that was wrong of me to do that. And he was like, no, Mom, no, you're perfect. He's like, no, you weren't wrong. And I said, no, listen to me. Like, this is serious business. I want you to know I'm not perfect. I did make a mistake. And I want you to know, like, I'm a human being. You got to get this. And I just really drove that home because I knew the damage that putting your parents on a pedestal does. So all of you out there listening to that are 20, 30, 40, and your parents are still on a pedestal, it's time to bring them down to the human being level and, recognize that they're just flawed human beings like the rest of us.
Isn't the parent that's probably on the pedestal is the spouse that looks at the other spouse saying, I don't want to go to your mother's house because that person has their parent on a pedestal? Sorry, I just thought that.
There's I think you're pretty astute there. I think that's true. Is a lot of the battles that I deal with couples is their parents are still alive and the parents have too much power in their grown child's life. And the grown child doesn't want to disappoint mom or dad, or the grown child wants to, present a certain image or whatever to their parents, and whatever, maybe perfection of being a good husband or being a good family member or whatever. And a lot of spouses don't protect their spouse to their less than welcoming parents, or maybe their judgy, snarky parents or whatever. And this is just a huge problem. And to me, it's like a sign that you're not fully grown up if you're choosing your parents' well-being over your spouse. And I know that was a huge problem in my marriage to my kids' dad, as they were just absolutely shameless to me over and over and over again. And I was on my own with that. Like, he was never going to stand up for me. And when we were having marriage problems, they were the first to go, get rid of her, get her out of here. It was just awful. It was just awful. And yeah, so I think you have to be an adult to have a good marriage. And part of being an adult is you have grown past your parents, and your own well-being and your new family's well-being comes first and foremost above anything else. And you always have your spouse's back.
I mean, well said. It has to be the two of you against the world. And that's the same for blended families. Lizzie and I have talked about blended families before, because My current husband has 4 and I have 4, and we have a big blended family. And the very beginning, there's a lot of like play against the other parent kind of thing. We had to decide it is you and me against the world, as hard as it is, because I'm the biological parent here. I have a lot of strong ties to these children. You're the biological parent here. You have a lot of strong ties to your children. We have got to put each other first. And no matter what, everybody on the outside, children, parents, it starts to get very dysfunctional when you start to prefer them and listen to their listen to their little it gets real dysfunctional when you start to prefer and supersede those people over your spouse, and they will start gaining more and more power in your relationship, which also they don't belong. Nobody belongs. We had to do that. I know I've heard that the strongest reason that second marriages with blended families divorce is the blended family situation. It's
Exactly
the
true.
kids.
75%.
70, good Lord, I didn't hear that, but 75%. I mean, it's a huge topic. And so if you do not decide from the get-go that it is you and me against the world, and my kids will not influence us and your kids will not influence us, we come to each other first and bind together as a family, the two of us. Man, that was hard. You had to really stick to it.
Well, I want to tell everybody out there that is contemplating the blended family thing or in one, there is a person out there who's a true jewel, and you should have her on your show sometime. I know that she would love to come on because she's desperate to talk about her favorite subject. She's a world famous researcher on blended families, and her name is Patricia Papernow. Although it's paper now, it's what it looks like on paper now, but it's pronounced Papper now. She wrote the Step Family Handbook and lots of other books for academics like me to teach us how to help families that are blending. And she has studied what works and what doesn't work and things to keep your eyes open to in step families. And she doesn't really like the term blended family because she thinks that kind of insinuates that we're all supposed to blend so well like a milkshake. And that's usually, not how it goes. I mean, she'll use the term, but it's not her favorite term. And I took a workshop with her because she is like a gold mine of unbelievably helpful information. But yeah, have her on your show, guys. She is the best.
We will. And I had a question. Oh, the question was, if she doesn't like the word blended family, what term does she use to kind of
Step
signify?
families. Step families.
Step
Yeah.
families. Okay, so she goes right back to the old, because blended families was supposed to be like the new etiquette or just the nice, sweet way to put it. Step families. Okay, we're going back.
Yeah, I think if you read her work and the way she explains these things, it makes very good sense. When I started reading the dynamics, because I was researching my book, and in my book I have a whole section on step parenting and blended families, and so I needed some really solid research-based material to present, and I found her, and she's the mother lode of it. And one of her concepts is that at any given point in a step family, someone's going to feel like a stuck outsider, depending on which kids are there and which kids aren't, and even the parent, the new wife or the new husband or whatever, can feel like the stuck outsider, and how to deal with those feelings of outsider, and allowing your children to be loyal to their parent who's not there and is across town or maybe deceased, and of course, unfortunately, Deanna, the hardest ones are the more kids you have, the harder it is to be successful. Like she was saying, the most successful and easiest is the one spouse having one child and the other not having children. The diciest is the stepmother stepdaughter dynamic, which I've had many people talk about that with my clients. The female having a hard time with her, let's say, teenage stepdaughter. But one of the rules of thumb I remember is just not forcing kids to act like they like it, not forcing them to blend, so to speak. If they don't want to go with the family to the parade, don't make them. If they don't want to, do X, Y, or Z, just let them be. The forcing of a child to go along is not recommended.
I agree 100% from personal experience. Yeah. You just have to let them kind of fall into the place they're going to fall. I think the most important thing is adjusting your expectations that the kids, and depending on their ages too. I mean, if they're little, and you're the only, and their other mom, their biological mom are the only figures they have, I think it's going to be a lot easier. But if they're teenagers and up, and they see you as a threat, yeah, or they feel disloyal, they love you. If they love you, they feel disloyal to their mother or father, or their mother and father, or say that if you love them, then how dare you? Or if you go with them, how dare you? Or I'm all alone, I'm sitting here by myself, and your brother and sister are going, and there's a lot of that manipulation. Like, it can get really ugly. And so you really have to just be okay. You're probably never going to be seen as mom, in the same way.
Expect it.
And you shouldn't expect it, and it's okay. And I think it took me a long time to be, I didn't want to replace anybody. That was not at all. I respected the fact that they had a mother, and I wanted them to have a mother and love their mother. But I also just expected, I guess, a level of warmth that would be at least somewhat close to that, because I was giving it all out. I'm putting you on my insurance, taking you to all your things and going to all your things and, buying you gifts for all your things and all those things. You're just going to have to be okay with always being the step. To put it bluntly, you're always going to be the second person. But if you can get that out of your head of it not being offensive, you can still be a wonderful, warm, kind support system, even if it's on the outskirts of that circle that they have. You can still be a wonderful person that they look up to, and that models how to treat their father or their mother. If they get to see that you've treated their father or mother with so much love and respect, and that you've modeled a beautiful relationship, sometimes that's all you need.
I agree. I always tell Deana I never had any problems with my stepkids. I told her that, and she didn't know what I was talking about. It took her a long time, and it was like, Deana, I'm talking about your kids.
I know sometimes look at her like, your stepkids? Oh, my kids. Yeah, no. They love.
So funny. Yeah, I think it's helpful if you just take, especially with kids, 8, 9 and older, if you don't look at yourself as their parent and just look at them as like a loving, caring auntie or friend or coach, and like think about the best coaches you've ever had who were just so cool, someone like that, but not an authoritarian figure.
Exactly. And let their biological parent do the discipline. Just don't even cross that line. Just trust me on that.
Yeah.
Just trust me on that. Don't even try. The hard part is when their parent is not a very good disciplinarian, and then they're causing chaos for you. That's really tough. But don't even go there. Like, it's gonna blow up in your face and get worse. But yeah, it's a really tough thing. So I love that. Thank you. I'm gonna look her up, and maybe we can have her on our show, Lizzie, because I think that's such an important topic.
It's such an important thing, and it still has to deal with toxic relationships.
Yes.
There's no doubt. And she's so interesting, y'all. You will love her. And I'm telling all you guys out there, look her up on YouTube too. I know she has some videos. My clients, after I talk about her, they go and find her on YouTube and get her books, and then they're so thankful for the golden information that she provides, and it needs to be more commonly known. That's why I wrote my book, because I felt like helping people in marriage crisis wasn't commonly known, not even by therapists, because we're not trained in it in school. And so now I'm trying to make this kind of intervention more commonly known, but she and I have the same problem. We have really great information that not many people know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We need to get that out there, because like you said, if 75% of second marriages are divorcing because of that family dynamic, that has got to get out there. We've got to save that. So,
change the dynamics.
Change the dynamic, exactly. Anyway, Becky, we want to respect your time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. I hope any of you out there that are listening have gotten some nuggets of information.
Yes. In this episode, we tackled big truths, from emotional immaturity and poor communication to the hidden triggers of resentment and why boundaries are essential, not optional. We also dove into the realities of blended families and the importance of putting your spouse first without guilt. If you missed our previous episode with Dr. Becky, 53, I Think I Want Out, the 5 stages of a marital breakdown, be sure to go back and listen. It lays a strong foundation for everything we discussed today. As always, if this resonated with you, hit the subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Healing starts with one honest conversation at a time. Thank you, and we hope you have a wonderful day.